Cutting carbs is dangerous? What are you talking about, Tim? Aren't you like a keto / carnivore guy? How in the world could cutting carbs actually be dangerous? I know you saw the thumbnail and you're probably wondering, what the heck is Tim talking about? Now let me explain. This is all in context, okay? So remember that when you watch this video. Context. Now, before we actually dive into exactly what this whole video is about, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Tim Ernst. I'm an intermittent keto fasting coach who has personally lost 70 pounds all the way back in 2018. And I've also coached hundreds of men from all over the world to lose at least 40 pounds in 16 weeks using my Keto Shed 40 program. If you want more info on that, I'll just drop a link into the description that'll take you to another YouTube video that'll kind of explain a little bit about more in detail of exactly what it is I do and how I can potentially help you. So let's get right into the video and let me just explain where this is coming from. Why in the world would I say that cutting carbs is dangerous? So this goes all the way back to 2018. I'm going to give you a little bit of a timeline as to what consisted to my weight loss journey. Okay, so back in 2018, let's start out in 2017. Okay, I was very overweight. I was at about 243 pounds, and I'll never forget standing in my bathroom looking at my body. I was horrified because I'd always been in the fitness industry since I was 25 years old. I'm going to be 49 this month. So I had really let myself go. So in 2017, I'm standing in the bathroom. It was December, and I thought, you know what? This is it. 2018 is going to be my year. So on January 1st, I started my journey to lose weight. Now, originally, when I started to lose weight, I wanted to get to like 200 pounds. I thought, oh, that's perfect. You know, I'm 243. Let me just get to 200. Okay. When I got to 200, I was like, you know what? I can't quite see my abs. I think I need to go down a little bit further. So I went from 200, and of course you always have people beeping when you're doing a video. I don't know why that is. But anyway, I got to 200 and I thought it's not enough. I can't really see my abs. So I got to 190. Got to 190. Wasn't quite enough. Then I went to 180, and then I got all the way down to 173, where I lost 70 pounds in just 7 months. Yes. Now let me explain the journey, what led me there. Okay, so for the first 4 months, I did strict keto. I'm talking no carbs, no cheating. If I went to a party, if I went to a family event, I brought my food, or I just ate foods that I knew were keto compliant. I mean, most places you go to are gonna have some type of protein or something in fat. Just gotta stay away from the carbs and sugars, okay? So I did that for a solid 4 months. And then after I got to probably 200 pounds, I was like, you know what? I haven't cheated in 4 months. I'm just gonna go out and have anything I want. So I went out and I had anything. I'm talking nothing was off the table. Anything I was craving, I'd have, whether it's a hamburger and fries, pizza, whatever. All right? And I noticed my body responded really well to that. And I started losing weight. Now, keep in mind, when I did this cheat, I only cheated once every 3 weeks. This was after 4 months of strict keto. So once every 3 weeks. Then as I started losing a little bit more weight, I started cheating once every 2 weeks. All right? And then finally, when I got to my goal of losing 70 pounds, I started cheating once a week, and it was typically on a Sunday. And I kid you not, I would fill up my grocery cart with like all the bad stuff. I'm telling you, like donuts, pizza, Fruity Pebbles cereal. I know that's crazy. It's all processed stuff. So this takes me back to what this video was originally intended for. I'm sure you and I would agree that most of America's diet, more specifically, in other parts of the world, our diets are very carb heavy and process heavy. I'm sure you would agree with that. Very carb heavy, very processed. So there's gonna come a time when you really need to pull back on carbs, pull back on the processed stuff. especially if you're really overweight and obese, okay? So the point I'm making in this video is when I got to my goal of losing 70 pounds, does it really make any sense to continue doing keto and carnivore for the rest of my life? Like, I'm not gonna want to enjoy my life on my birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, once in a while, vacations. Makes no sense to stay keto carnivore for the rest of your life. Now, the danger is this, and I had to learn this about myself. So again, let's go back to 2018. I lost the 70 pounds. I started cheating once a week. I was staying pretty disciplined. And all of a sudden, I was cheating twice a week, 3 times a week. And before you know it, guess what happened? We all know what happened in 2020. Pandemic happened, and man, I went off the rails. I actually had somebody call me out on my Instagram channel, and man, he called me out. What could I say? I couldn't hide it. I mean, he saw my physique. He's like, man, it looks like you need some accountability, Tim. He was right. I needed some accountability, and I majorly screwed up. So we fast forward now to 2025. I think I stayed like this for from 2020 to 24 years. I stayed pretty unhealthy. I just couldn't get out of that rut since 2020. I'm sure you could relate with that. I've talked to people where 2020 was the year where a lot of people fell off their health goals. So I went on my journey starting this year, and I weighed myself this morning. I think 196.5. I started this year at 233. So I've lost about 36, 37 pounds already. My goal is to get to 190, so I'm only 6 pounds away. I may shoot for 185. But again, going back to the video about cutting carbs can be dangerous, is this. It was like I was saying before, you know yourself better than anybody, okay? So what happened to me is I wasn't very disciplined on those once a week cheat meals. One cheat became 2, became 3, became 4, and before you know it, like I said, I fell off the rails for 4 years. Now, your body loves carbs. We love carbohydrates, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that we're so carb heavy in our diets currently that for a brief moment in our journey, we need to pull back on those carbohydrates, especially if you're insulin resistant, you got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetes, sleep apnea, all these diseases that are plaguing people all the time. Yes, cutting on the carbs would be a very wise and smart decision. But does it make sense to do that once you reach your goal? Now let me just say, like I said before, you know yourself better than anybody. Would you have the discipline to incorporate carbohydrates again back in your diet within reason, without gaining the weight back, without going off the rails like I did in 2020? Could you do that? And I would say it would be pretty easy to do if you had some accountability, number one, but also you just got to know yourself well enough to know if you can actually do it. And I think most people could do it, but you got to be really, really smart about it, okay? Now, when I mean carbohydrates and stuff, I don't mean like cheating with all the junk stuff. Have some clean carbs, like berries, honey. You can have the occasional cheat meal. That's no big deal. You can do that. You can have the rice, potatoes, clean carbohydrates. And again, once in a while, you can have some type of cheat meal, okay? This makes it so much more enjoyable in life when you can kind of go off the plane a little bit, enjoy yourself on vacations and birthdays and holidays, and then just get right back on, okay? The mistake a lot of people make is they don't get back on. And that's why you need to really evaluate yourself and figure out, can I do this? Could I incorporate carbohydrates? Because here's the thing. I mean, I'm gonna be 49, okay? I'm hoping I have a lot of years left in my life. I can't imagine going another 30 years or so never having a carbohydrate. It just doesn't make any sense. But like I said before, if you're obese, you got a lot of weight to lose, your health is at risk, you need to pull back on the carbohydrates. Now, let me go back to saying why cutting carbs is dangerous. I think it becomes dangerous when you're like keto carnivore for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you've just been on keto carnivore for years. I think what can happen in that case is your workouts will definitely suffer. I've noticed that my strength has gone down. My workouts will suffer a little bit because I'm totally training in a fasted state and I don't have any carbohydrates. So I definitely noticed that my strength has gone down, but also you got to remember, cortisol is a very powerful hormone that can add a lot of stress to your body that can prevent you from losing weight. Now let me explain. When you wake up in the morning, your cortisol rises, okay? And this is like a stress hormone. This is a natural thing that's supposed to happen in the mornings, okay? But if you're depriving yourself for so long from carbohydrates, you know what that does? That could elevate cortisol, which again is a stress hormone that can actually prevent you from losing weight. So it's actually a smart idea to every once in a while have what I call a refeed meal. I don't like to use the word cheat meal, that just doesn't sound good. But I would say have what's called a refeed meal, and that is going to keep that cortisol down a little bit so you can actually start losing weight again, okay? I used to prescribe this to my clients. I would say, hey, we're gonna stay strict for keto for a while, but if I start to notice your weight loss is plateauing, your body's probably getting stressed and it's craving something. So in that case, I would tell them like, hey, put it on your calendar, you and your spouse or your friends, whoever, put it on the calendar and go out and have anything you want. Nothing's off the table. And I guarantee you, when you do that, you will actually start losing more weight. You just gotta stay strict at the beginning. That is gonna be key. You got to stay strict, all right? The mistake people make is they're cheating right out the gate. That's a losing battle if you're gonna do that. Okay, so that's kind of the trajectory of my weight loss. It wasn't strict keto for 7 solid months that helped me lose that 70 pounds. I did it for 4 months, and then I would cheat once every 3 weeks, lost weight, then I would cheat once every 2 weeks, and then I would have my cheat meal once a week, or refeed meal once a week. And that kept the weight off for at least 1.5 years, 2 years, until 2020 happened, and that's when gyms shut down, restaurants shut down, and I don't have to tell you, you know how it was in 2020. So I wanted to just clarify that. So, carbs can be dangerous when you're taking it out of your diet for too long, okay? I'm learning this about myself. Like I said, I was a strict keto carnivore guy. Get rid of the carbs, get rid of the carbs. And yes, you need to do that. It's a tool in your toolbox. Look at it like that. It's a tool in your toolbox, okay? Get the weight off, pull the carbs and sugars out, get the weight off. Get it off. Get as lean as possible. You know what happens when you get really, really, really lean? You become insulin sensitive to the point where when you do incorporate those carbs, your body's gonna utilize it properly and not store it as fat. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. I'll see you next time.